CEO of a startup company in Dublin called Compendia. A number of years ago, when I was in the US with a previous company that I started, there was a certain gentleman from General Electric who I used to deal with, and he said, Tony, where did you get your name from? You know, you've got an Italian first name, a Polish second name, and you speak with an Irish accent. You know, well, there's something very confusing going on here. So, as many of you are probably aware, there's a lot of great technology coming out of Ireland at the moment, and my peers here today, probably a good reflection on that. Just wanted to give you sort of a couple of minutes on what Compendia does, the problem that we're solving, and I will spend quite a lot of time on a demo, which hopefully works, a live one. So we're the first iPad and iPhone enterprise document management system with full collaboration and security in the cloud, either in a private or in a public configuration. Today I'm going to speak primarily about private cloud, since I think from my feedback so far, public cloud is not going to be adopted in large enterprise anytime soon. As a matter of interest, how many people are iPad users here? 50%. Okay, that's not too bad. So what we're doing is primarily focusing on the mobile device and giving a rich productivity experience on that. We're offering a sort of a level of ease of use that you would see in other products, but at the same time providing a certain level of security that enterprise demands. And those two things are usually in polar opposites to each other. And crucially, we ensure that there's no content ever left on the device, right? So from a security perspective or an IT manager's perspective, the fact that there isn't anything left on the device is probably a major plus. So the problems that we address, the first one is app clutter, and Apple's mantra of there's an app for this and there's an app for that has certainly been borne out with 1 million apps on the iPhone and several 100,000 on the iPad. Those apps are all great sort of point solutions, but in a lot of cases they haven't been developed for enterprise. They don't have the requisite level of security and controls around them. The second thing then is cloud sprawl. There are a lot of consumer file sharing services out there. It's quite easy from within one app to take that content and push it into another app, etc. Now I admit there are MDM solutions that help with that, but you end up with a lot of containers that can't intercommunicate with one another. So there are file sharing services, and I won't mention any names, but one of the issues with file sharing services is that they sync content to all devices. So IT for the last number of years has been trying to eradicate duplicity and multiplicity of documents, etc. And now we've introduced these syncing services, which are putting multiple copies across all sorts of devices and desktops, etc. And ultimately, people want to use tablets in the enterprise. One of the top 4 accounting firms in Europe at the moment, they're equipping 40% of their staff with iPads. They are eliminating laptops. So the iPad, I think, is here to stay. But bringing it into the organization, into the enterprise, and doing it in a controlled fashion is extremely important. So from a product overview perspective, what Compendia does is we're offering a private cloud and taking content on the extremes from here, documents, PDFs, etc., on the iPad, managing and controlling them in the cloud, public or private, and then doing the same thing on the desktop. So whatever you see from a file perspective on the desktop, you've got an identical file management view on the iPad. So we're providing standard features like document editing that you might get with a product like QuickOffice, version control, annotation, which something like iAnnotate might provide, note creation like Evernote, and its various derivatives, electronic signature like DocuSign, check-in, check-out, and we'd call that SharePoint Lite, right? And then a full audit trail. So very much an emphasis on document-centric security. You, as the generator of the document, are in control of the document, and you determine who has access to it without the involvement of IT. We also, because of the enterprise world and the adoption by various MDM solutions, we're also offering Compendia within Mobile Iron, Citrix, etc. And as part of the demonstration, I'll actually show you Compendia operating within Mobile Iron. So that's ready for demo time. Switch device. Take away the heavy laptop.
Can you connect to the WebEx again?
On this?
Yeah.
Back up again.
Just click cancel. And then share code. But it doesn't share the screen. It doesn't share the screen. Doesn't share? Okay, so we're done. Never mind.
Okay.
It's only one of them.
All right. So here's an example of app clutter. We've got Box, we've Excelion, we've Cloudon, we've Evernote, iAnnotate, Polaris Office, etc. So, and to use any of those apps, you click on it, you sort of operate within it, but there's no real sort of connectivity to your sort of corporate enterprise systems. There's no controlled way of doing that. So, move to the right, and we have Compendia. So I've actually got two versions of Compendia. This one is Tony Enterprise, which you see at the top. The other version is Compendia for Mobile Iron. So within Tony Enterprise, we've got a list of all of the users within the particular repository that I'm involved with. So here's a list of all of these users. These users will also be available on the desktop. God, time flies. So quickly going to go through some of the features of it. So I can create a new document, for instance, a new Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Note, etc. So creating a new Excel document. Opens up an Excel blank worksheet, which I can modify, etc. Within the particular documents themselves, we've got the ability to delete, rename, email it as a link. We can look at the shared version history of the document. So various versions that we can go back in time to. And also the security associated with that particular document. So as the owner of that document, I can determine who has read access, write access, etc. Right? So this is all within one app. Right? If I go back to the all users and go to this particular one here, I'm going to open up a PDF, and I've called it contract for signing. So within this, I can annotate this particular contract, and somebody has already provided a little note here to say, please sign here. So since it's St. Patrick's Day, almost, let's put him in. Done. And actually, we'll do one more thing. There used to be a thing called a dictaphone years ago, but now I believe financial advisors sort of would prefer to have some other mechanism of documenting their PDFs or their notes. So rather than typing, we're just going to put a voice in, and I would sort of like to thank John for allowing us guys to present today, and talk to you soon. So we've recorded a voice note on this PDF, right? We can also capture a picture, and I won't capture a picture, but again, crucially, if I take a picture, the picture does not sit on the device. It goes straight into the cloud. So back to flatten. Okay, so now I've created a new version of that. I'm going to give them the time. I'm just going to go back into this thing here. And down at the bottom here, I've got a thing called the Compendia Explorer, which is an Explorer view into that same repository. So you see a list of the same people. You'll also see the contract that I signed. This is all hosted in Rackspace in Texas, by the way. So there's St. Patrick, right? And trying to find out where the note went to. Oh, I know what happened. I didn't actually save the... but what should have happened was I click on the sound thing, and you get the same message. So if somebody wanted to modify a paragraph in a document, say, you know, I need paragraph 6 modified, please, you know, rather than having somebody to type. So very powerful version control, collaboration between people and between third parties. So not only within an organization, but with other organizations as well. Is that it? Perfect. All right. Thank you. Yep.
I think you did speak it, but so your content's all stored in a cloud service that you guys provide. But can you connect back into corporate environments, like SharePoint environments, or the SIP shares or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, we can sit as a private cloud within your organization. So we give you a virtual machine with all of what you need to do. You tell us what your IP address is, package it all up, and off you go. Very simple.
What's your pricing model, please? Enterprise or user or per device?
Per user, $49.99.
Year. Specify a year.
That
Not a
per
month.
Oh, sorry, per year. Per year. Yeah.
Default to monthly.
I forgot. It's not the old enterprise stuff that we used to sell.
Nobody lives longer on any device than more than 12 months.
Right. So your question?
Yeah, what about other operating systems, you know, Android, Windows?
Android is on the development path. The components, we use a number of components within the product. So we're using Polaris Office. We're actually using iAnnotate. So we've taken their SDKs and wrapped all of our security and collaboration then around that.
So the document editing function is provided by Polaris Office.
Correct. Yeah. Sorry.
So the two things you said, at the tail end you said this was hosted in Rackspace.
Yeah.
But then at the beginning you said enterprises weren't adopting public cloud.
Right.
And so is it just the demo?
It's just the demo.
Your environment, what you're doing is on Rackspace.
Correct.
It could be on any cloud.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But you made that comment about enterprises weren't adopting public cloud, which some in public cloud probably argue with you. What makes you say that?
Well, Mobile Iron is one of our partners now, and in Ireland alone, their reseller has 150 corporate customers on Mobile Iron. and only one is in the public cloud, and that's a small business. Now, I'm talking about, Big Four accounting firms, but, Morgan Stanley, I'm sure can, verify the same thing. I was at the London CTO conference a couple of weeks ago, and certainly the message was that, public cloud wasn't going to appear in Morgan Stanley, not for a while yet. So.
How are you distributing your mobile applications? Is it iTunes or is it enterprise app stores?
We actually have two versions. We have an enterprise version, which will be published through the business store, but we do have a small business version, which goes back to the public cloud that we have at the moment. But from a market perspective, we are going after enterprise in the short term being the next 18 to 24 months. And when we come back to the small business sector, we hope at that stage to be able to give a message: do you want enterprise-grade security, document management in your small business? Then Compendia is for you. So you were asking a question? Yeah.
Can multiple users collaborate within one document, and where do you see the difference between Google Apps for Business?
We don't do this real-time collaboration, as in one person types the first sentence and then somebody else types the next sentence, but we have a check-in, check-out facility. So whoever checks it out, who has the authorization to be able to modify the document, takes control of the document until such times as somebody else who has right ability, they can then force a lock on the document. So it's one writer, many readers.
Do you encrypt the data between the client and the cloud?
Yes. Yep.
So what actually would happen in the demo if the user there would attempt to save a copy of that document to their hard drive?
They can't. There's no way. We prevent open-in, save as, all of those things. So we're taking control of Polaris Office, which normally would have a save as or whatever associated with it. So we're taking control of all of those menu items and making sure it only goes in one place and one place only.
Should I include screenshots too?
Screenshots of?
Screenshots of whatever's on the screen at the time.
At the moment, we don't do anything in that respect. I'm not sure whether, I think maybe some of the MDM people will do that. And we sit, I didn't get a chance to show it to you, but we sit within Mobile Iron at the moment. So. All right.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.